All right. Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining our second year experience webinar series. I'm so excited today to welcome Haylie LaFleur, who is the intern for Counseling and Testing Center. She's going to be talking to us about SLIDDE. So I will go ahead and pass over the mic to her.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Haylie LaFleur. Along with being an intern for counseling and testing, I'm also the graduate assistant for SLIDDE. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that organization. So just to show a little bit about who we are and what we do, SLIDE stands for Student Leaders Involved in Drinking and Drug Education. So about our campus mission. We are a student organization dedicated to educating the students of UL about the effects and consequences of consuming alcohol and drugs. We act as a medium through facts and statistics about safe and legal alcohol and drug consumption in order to reach the students and in hopes of providing a safe environment for the students on campus and off of campus. So with that being said, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about alcohol and how that affects the college population, which is you guys. So one thing to keep in mind is what alcohol is actually costing you. It's much higher than I would have thought, going through all of these statistics and everything. Every year, college students spend an average $5 billion on alcohol, and most of that money is geared toward purchase of beer. So when you break that down, it goes about $466 per student per year, which is a lot when you really think about it. And beer manufacturers also spend an estimated $15 to $20 million annually to promote their products to college students. So that's just on advertising alone. So I also want to talk about some fun facts, and some of them are not so fun, and you'll see what I mean. So the total amount of alcohol consumed by college students each year is 430 million gallons, which is enough for every college and university in the United States to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool. As many as 360,000 of the nation's 12 million undergrads will die from alcohol-related causes while in school. This is more than the number who will receive MA and PhD degrees. Nearly half of all college students are binge drinkers, and college students drink an estimated 4 billion cans of beer annually. Also, almost 4% of all college students drink alcohol on a daily basis. And out of those college students, fraternity and sorority members tend to drink more often and more heavily than the standard. So I know we talked a lot about alcohol, just in that small piece, but it's just kind of a visual of what's actually in a drink. Going off of what was said earlier, that a lot of college students engage in binge drinking. We're not always super aware of what's in our drink or how much we're consuming on a daily basis. So these laid out for you guys are what the standard drink actually looks like. So in a red solo cup, like you see here, it's 16 ounces. But of that 16 ounces, only 12 ounces is considered a standard drink. And as far as beer, 12 ounces is standard. And with wine, it's about 5 ounces. So as you can see, the whole wine glass is not filled up. It's just a portion of it of 12% alcohol. And then on the side with liquor, 1.5 ounces equals about a shot. So even if you make a drink, with whatever type of hard liquor that is, only about 1.5 of that drink should be actual alcohol. So let's kind of talk about binge drinking. So what does that actually look like? So for the average male, it's about 5 or more drinks in a standard period of time. So within a night, within a day, 5 or more drinks back to back. And for the average female, it's about 3 or more. Now I know that this doesn't, this doesn't go the same for everyone, but again, it's just the average male and average female. It differs for every person though, depending on body mass and all of that. So just keep that in mind. So what binge drinking does is it increases one's blood alcohol concentration, which is also known as the BAC level, and it increases the risk of negative consequences. Some situations where you may see binge drinking occur could be done in drinking games such as beer pong or even funneling. Some of these things happen at different parties or tailgating. We see this all the time, and maybe we don't even think about what it is that's actually happening. So some of the consequences of binge drinking, there's many, but for the college student, what this usually looks like is missing class, falling behind in schoolwork, neglecting our jobs, our personal responsibilities, Also needing time to nurse a hangover. We know that that can take, however long, depending on how bad the binge was that night or anything, which can also, lead to neglecting a bunch of responsibilities in and of itself. It could also lead to injury, damaging property, having spells of blacking out, which means that we are unable to remember the events from the night before because we were under the influence. The inability to stop at will, binge drinking on a regular basis can even lead to addiction. Unwanted sexual advances or encounters, legal troubles, getting behind the wheel of a car, or even alcohol poisoning in the most severe cases. So, one way to tell if you or someone you know may have a drinking problem is to use this CAGE questionnaire. This could be a good step in that assessment. So before we kind of go into this, even if you answer one yes to any of these questions, it is possible that it indicates that there may be a drinking problem involved. And more than one yes means that it is even more likely, maybe higher likely that this problem does exist. So as you can see, it's an acronym. The C is for concern. So concern that there may be a drinking problem. If that concern is present, a question you can ask is, have you ever felt that you should cut down on your drinking? The A is for apparent. So that means that the drinking problem is apparent to other people besides yourself. So a question you could ask in that case is, have you ever become annoyed by criticisms of your drinking? The G is for grave consequences. So some of those things that we mentioned earlier, those can be considered grave consequences when there's that neglect of self, neglect of responsibilities. And a question you can ask is, have you ever felt guilty about your drinking? And finally is evidence of dependence or tolerance, to be specific. So again, maybe kind of leading into some addictive tendencies. And so a good question to ask for that is, have you ever had a morning eye opener to get rid of a hangover? So again, this is something you can ask yourself to do your own self-assessment, or even to ask somebody else if you feel like someone is beginning to have a problem with alcohol. So to talk about some risk factors, these are just a few that may be a problem. Engaging in too much binge, whether it's binge drinking or different drugs. So risky drinking, risky driving, and risky sex. These are all things that may happen if you're drinking too much. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was alcohol and sexual promiscuity. So for people outside of a committed relationship, some of these things may happen if there's too much alcohol involved. So one is unsafe sex. This can look, multiple different ways. Some of the most common ones are, unprotected sex and unconsensual sex, things like that. Also, unplanned or unwanted pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, unwanted sexual advances, and even just regrettable sexual interactions. So I did want to just kind of warn whoever is watching that this may be triggering. So we are going to be talking about sexual assault. So I did want to just kind of throw that out there. If anyone needs to turn off the screen for a bit or step away, that is totally okay. So we're going to talk about drug-facilitated sexual assault and what that looks like. So this occurs when alcohol or drugs are used to compromise an individual's ability to consent to sexual activity. These substances make it easier for the perpetrator to commit the sexual assault because it lowers inhibitions, reduces a person's ability to resist, and can prevent them from remembering the details of the assault. The use of alcohol, sleep aids, anxiety medication, muscle relaxers, tranquilizers, and other street drugs are the common uses that these perpetrators may use for this to occur. A common term that most of us probably, so this is kind of what this looks like. So if this has ever happened to you or someone that you know, these are just some things to look out for, both within yourself and with your peers, so that you can, see about the situation before it becomes a problem. So some things that might occur if you were, given any of those products that we talked about, it's difficulty breathing, feeling drunk, even if you've consumed no alcohol or very little, losing bowel or bladder control, nausea, changes in body temperature, whether that be overheating or being way too cold, sudden increase in dizziness, disorientation, or blurred vision, waking up with no memory or missing large portions of memories. So as you can see, some of these symptoms are really common with symptoms of being intoxicated. So it's important to really listen to your body, or ask other people to kind of check in with themselves and make sure that none of these symptoms are out of the ordinary for the activity that's occurring. Some tips to stay safe: keeping an eye out on your friends. It's always a good idea to never be by yourself when you're going out, whether you're at a bar or at a party or with friends. Sticking together with your peers and just holding each other accountable and looking out for one another. Have a backup plan. This may mean if something goes wrong and you feel unsafe, never rely on anyone else to bring you back home. Always know that you can call a taxi, call an Uber, call a Lyft, and just have a backup plan for how to escape a situation if you're feeling unsafe. Know what you're drinking. This may mean not accepting drinks from people that you don't know or that you don't trust, making your own drinks, or providing your own source of alcohol if that's what you're doing. Trusting your instincts. That's goes along with just, trust your gut. When things are not right. Again, listening to your body, things like that. Never leaving drinks unattended. That is the unfortunate reality that sometimes we have to look out for those things, and we can't always trust other people to watch our things for us. So just be aware of that, and being aware of sudden changes in the way that your body feels. So just, again, checking in with yourself often, knowing your limits, and knowing when it's time to maybe walk away. If this has ever happened to you or someone that it's important to know that it is not your fault. No matter what anyone tells you or how you even feel yourself about the situation, it really isn't your fault. If this has happened, it's important to know your resources. So there is a national sexual assault hotline. It's 800-656-HOPE, which also is 4673. The hotline is free, confidential, and 24/7. So you can call it anytime, and they can direct you to the resources in your area that are suitable to you in your situation. So after all that being said, I kind of wanted to move on into how alcohol affects relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So some reasons why alcohol could be affecting your relationship. Number one, it is a drug. I know that's kind of weird to think about because we usually, think of them as two separate things, but alcohol in its properties and what it truly is a drug as far as its addictive properties and what it does to our bodies. So what it does is it alters our emotions, our perceptions, and even our thought processes. Alcohol is a depressant, which basically means it lowers our mood and it lowers our inhibitions. And sometimes that can cause us to do things that we wouldn't normally do when sober. Second, it's a cultural pass. Living in Louisiana, we all know the common events that alcohol can be present at. It's part of our culture. So, Mardi Gras is a huge one. Even just simple things like birthday parties, weddings, New Year's Eve. Alcohol is a big part of celebration and just enjoying other people. It's a social thing. It's a pastime, and sometimes it's even viewed as a mandatory part of your culture, a way of celebrating or de-stressing. And so, some of these quotes that I found, it kind of shows maybe some reasons why we do partake in alcohol in these cultural situations. I only said that because I was drunk. We only fight when we've been drinking, and we can't celebrate without wine. Some of those are some of the excuses that we give, just to have alcohol in those cultural situations. So number 3 are the psychological effects of alcohol. So it directly influences the way that we interact socially. It may cause us to be more aggressive than normal, disinhibited, defensive, sensitive, and irrational. And because it changes the functions of your brain. So whenever you've been drinking too much, maybe you found yourself, fighting with a friend that you normally never fight with, or getting really hurt over a situation that normally you wouldn't react that strongly to. It's because it does something to the way that we process emotions and process situations around us, and it causes us to act differently than we would typically. So another big part of, a thing that a negative effect of alcohol on our relationships is that it can cause problems with emotional intimacy. So things like trust, stability, affection, expectations, commitment, values, and respect can be negatively affected if alcohol becomes a barrier within a relationship. There's also problems with physical intimacy. So a couple of telltale signs of this is lowered sex drive or libido, erectile dysfunction, vaginal dryness, decreased sexual pleasure, weight gain, and fertility issues. Some of these things are because if you become too reliant on alcohol to have sex, that can be a common thing too. Also, mistrust. And just, to clarify, this can be in other situations and other relationships rather than just romantic. This can be between friends, this can be between family members. But if there is an alcohol problem involved, a person may become secretive out of fear, shame, or guilt because of their alcohol consumption or addiction. They may hide things such as where they are, who they're with, and what they're doing. This could be, just an innocent defense mechanism, or it can be just a flat out lie, big lies that it can turn into something bigger. This could be all an attempt to cover their addiction, making excuses, and, breaking this trust. It can be really difficult to repair once it's damaged. So this could really leave long-term lasting negative effects on a relationship, depending on how it's dealt with. And proper communication is impossible without honesty. So you can see, this mistrust going on, this hiding. It can affect things other than just the trust, but communication in general, which is really important for any relationship. And what it may ultimately lead to is feelings of fear, jealousy, loneliness, sadness, and resentment. So here are some signs that alcohol may be hurting your relationship. So again, we already talked about arguments, but when these arguments come up, drinking or behaviors related to it may come up, such as staying out late, sleeping in too late, ignoring tasks and duties at home, issues with money, and even more. Again, creating excuses for a partner who is sick. That may come up often, feeling like you always have to cover for them or in some way. One of the partners may confess that they drink to help tone down stress or tension associated with fighting or other situations within the home, including arguments that revolve around alcohol consumption. So again, that is an excuse in and of itself too. So you can see how that can spiral into something bigger. It's also a sign that alcohol is hurting your relationship when one of the primary activities that they enjoy doing together involves drinking. There may be spouts of violence or aggression, angry touching, or even disrespect between partners who have been drinking or consuming too much alcohol. If one or both of the partners need to drink to be able to openly communicate or talk about the issues in a relationship, or to show signs of love or fondness toward the other. So this is kind of what we talked about earlier, that reliance on alcohol to even function in a relationship, not only sexually, but also emotionally and just in the way that they communicate. The family also could grow embarrassed or feel a need to hide from others, including other family members, because of someone having an alcohol addiction. So all of these things can hurt their relationship if it goes too far. And the same goes for drug usage. You can see that these really look similar. So rather than arguments about alcohol consumption, it could be about drug usage. A lot of things that come up with drug usage is, money problems because drugs are so expensive, and it can really wreak havoc on the couple, whatever relationship that may look like, whether it's a friend or a family member, and affect the unit as a whole. Again, using drugs to reduce tension or stress. Episodes of domestic violence can also happen with drug usage when that becomes a problem. And also using that to show signs of affection and, to talk about problems or just open up and communicate. So here are 7 ways to prevent alcohol from ruining your relationship. Other than, which we'll talk about a little later, seeking professional help, some things that maybe you can do just to check in with yourself before it becomes a problem is commit to drinking responsibly. Staying within the low risk guidelines. So that goes back to the standard drink amount, which we talked about, what a standard drink looks like, and maybe sticking to just that rather than going on and binge drinking. When going on dates, again, this is with significant others, but it could also be with friends, whenever there's, different events or different ways to hang out, maybe just going to somewhere where it's alcohol free and not making that part of the event or part of the encounter. Snacking smarter. Food consumption before drinking alcohol can really affect the way that we absorb it. So, making sure maybe our stomachs are full with good foods before we go out and drink. Talking it out sober. I know sometimes it can be hard, for us to admit our most vulnerable feelings to someone, whether that's a significant other, a friend, or a family member. But you will get, the most honest feedback and, the honest things off of your chest whenever you are sober. And designate one or more days of the week as alcohol free. Sometimes it can be hard to start doing that. So just taking it one day at a time and committing to that being an alcohol free or drug free day for you. And choosing the soft option, which means soft drinks. Sometimes it's good to just kind of have something in your hand whenever you're at an event or a party or things like that. And so maybe switch to a soft drink rather than an alcoholic beverage. So, can treatment help these relationship problems that may come up with alcohol? The answer is yes, depending on how you go about it. So there's a couple of different treatment options available, and again, it depends on the person, depends on the relationship, and what the issue is there. So there's individual counseling, couples counseling, group counseling, or even self-help meetings and support groups. Some of the common ones that we think of when we think of these things is Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. So there's a group for alcohol addiction and for drug addiction. If you have a problem with drinking or drug use, it is worth it to enter treatment, not only for you, but also your partner, your children, friends, and others. So even if the problem is going on within the relationship, whether, that relationship with your significant other, it can really affect more than just that. It can affect the whole family or all of your friends. So just know that there's multiple positive effects if you do seek that help. If your partner has a problem with drugs or alcohol, getting them to enter treatment may be one of the best things that you can do for them in your relationship. So again, these resources can be for you if this problem is going on with yourself or for anyone that you know. So we talked about how alcohol can negatively affect our relationships. So it's important to kind of talk about what a healthy relationship looks like. And as you can see in this picture, relationships can mean anything: family, friends, acquaintances, romantic relationships, or even strangers. So these are some of the things that you may think of when you think of a healthy relationship. So things like trust, communication, patience, empathy, room for growth, healthy conflict resolution, and boundaries. So here are some signs that you are in a healthy relationship. You maintain a meaningful emotional connection with someone else. You're not afraid of respectful disagreement. You keep outside relationships and interests alive, and you communicate openly and honestly. So here are some tips on how to build those healthy relationships. It's possible that, maybe you're looking to deepen existing relationships with others, or maybe go out and seek some more. So knowing how to do that can be beneficial moving forward. So the first is spending quality time face to face. It's important to kind of commit to spending quality time on a regular basis. Um, it's quality over quantity. Even if you can only do it, once a week or once every couple of weeks, it's important for that time to, be in person and really spend some time with the other person. Finding something that you enjoy doing together, trying something new, and focusing on having fun. Number two, staying connected through communication. Don't make them guess what you're thinking. It's okay to ask for whatever you need. And same thing it should be like that for the other person as well. Taking note of nonverbal cues, if you notice, their body language shift or maybe a look on their face or something, it's okay to notice that and see what they think of that also. And be a good listener. If someone else opens up to you and, is trusting you with their thoughts, feelings, and concerns, really listen and respond, listen before responding. So another one is keeping physical intimacy alive. Again, this is not only for romantic relationships. Touch can be important in all other relationships as well. Physical touch is actually a fundamental part of human existence, and it's vital for mental and emotional health. There's a lot of studies shown about how physical embraces, even hugs, can really affect someone's mental health. And this is because it boosts our level of oxytocin, which is a hormone that influences bonding and attachment. Uh, with, no matter who the person is, whether it's a romantic interest or not, consent is always important. So making sure that you and the other person is on the same page before any of those kinds of encounters occur. Learning to give and take. So for you, it's important to recognize what is important to the other person and vice versa. Winning is not the goal. It's not about competing in a relationship. It's not about who's winning, who's above the other. It should be, a mutual effort together. And learning how to respectfully resolve conflict. This can be a struggle, but the best way to go about conflict is to just know what each person needs and not being afraid to ask for that help. So for the fifth one, being prepared for ups and downs. This goes for any relationship. It's not always going to be smooth sailing, and that's okay. It's important to know, though, not to take out your problems on someone else. Trying to force a solution can even cause more problems. So sometimes it's best to just sleep on it. And I know that's kind of contrary to popular belief, don't go to bed angry or something, but sometimes there's nothing that can be done. And so it's okay to just kind of take a minute to, just to think before acting. Remembering those moments that brought you together. Sometimes when things are going bad in any relationship, it's important to kind of remember why you enjoy this person so much. So thinking back to maybe those earliest memories can really bring you out of that bad place and change your perspective. Also being open to change. Just like we grow and change, relationships grow and change. So knowing that it's not always going to stay stagnant, and that's how it should be. So just being open to the process. If you need outside help for your relationship, reach out together. That can be something that you guys do mutually together, where, whether it be seeking professional help and counseling or reaching out to someone else to get a second opinion. So if any of these things do come up, just know that there are resources for you guys on campus. One of them is the Counseling and Testing Center. So if you guys have never been here, I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit more about where it is. So this picture shows exactly what the building looks like. It's on Hebrard. It's the Societe Wellness Center. So whenever you walk in, you'll see student health services, and then through a small door, you'll find counseling and testing kind of hidden in the back. So the Counseling and Testing Center provides professional counseling and testing services for university students and employees. Services are free and confidential. I can't stress free enough. I know counseling can be expensive outside of school and, within the community. So it's important to know that this is a free service for you guys as long as you are students. So as far as the staff, we have a good bit of people on staff. So we have a psychologist. We also have licensed professional counselors and people like myself who are counseling interns. We're trained in college counseling. We're working toward our master's degrees. So we are under supervision and things like that. So you guys are getting quality care all around, no matter who you go to. It's important to recognize, maybe some of you guys have never been to counseling or don't really know what that looks like. So just for a little bit more information, counseling is a process where someone asks for help due to problems of an emotional or psychological nature from a professional who is trained in counseling. So the professional will try to help the person seeking therapy to cope with their problem and to mature and learn more about themselves. So again, just some services offered to be more specific of what it looks like here at Counseling and Free personal counseling. So counseling looks different to everyone. It depends what the presenting concern is, and the counselors are very flexible with the client's needs. So this may look like crisis intervention, short-term individual counseling, couples counseling, or group therapy. We offer all of that. So whatever your needs are, we can find a fit for you. We also do proctored administration of academic, standardized, and psychological tests. So this has nothing to do with counseling, but this is also another service for you guys. So we offer the Praxis, the ACT, the LSAT, independent study, and the PAI, which stands for Personal Assessment Inventory. And finally, we have psychoeducational and consultation services, whether that be for a campus group, a club, or other departments. So this may include topics such as stress management, time management, and drug and alcohol awareness. We are on the UL's website, but just in case, you know, I just want to provide this for you guys. Contact us if you're looking to even just get some more information. You can either call us at this number here, or you can email us. If you're looking for counseling services, it's counseling@louisiana.edu. Or for testing services, it would be testing@louisiana.edu. Our secretary, Miss Beverly, she's a wonderful lady who is always there to answer any questions that you have. And yeah, we're here to help you guys. Also, kind of going back to SLIDDE, we are looking for students to get more involved. So if you're interested, I did leave you guys our email right here. So feel free to contact me with any questions or ways to get involved. COVID has kind of slowed us down as far as our student involvement and kind of getting out into the community, talking to you guys. But as soon as, you know, we get back up and running, we are looking for much more student involvement, and kind of we're trying to figure out a way to, you know, navigate this whole COVID thing. So yeah, here was an opportunity for you guys to ask some questions. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And I just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in and listening to this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Haylie. I learned
Welcome.
tons, and so thank you. I love the opportunity for our students to learn, but also for ourselves as professional staff to learn. And so thank you so much for your time and your expertise.
You're welcome.
I'll be
Thank you for
sure.
having me.
Oh, go ahead.
I said, no, you're welcome. And thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. We would love to have you back at any time. I'll definitely share your contact information below this video for students who are interested in learning more about what SLIDDE does and our counseling and testing services here on campus. So thank you again. I'm going to end the recording now, and then we can wrap up.